Proudly sponsored by TUSC, the only cryptocurrency designed with the firearms market in mind, with 3-second processing times. It's the fastest cryptocurrency on the planet. With lower transaction fees than traditional credit cards. It's perfect for your e-commerce needs. For gun guys, by gun guys. Visit TUSC.network for more information and join the digital revolution.
Commander Brown, Detroit Urban Survival Training. Congratulations to Joe and his wife on triplets. That's amazing. That's going to be a lot of amazing that you guys are going to work together, because it's going to be a lot. Wow. So as far as what John let me know, and that is that you're in a furry club. So here's the thing about a furry club. I'm not sure what a furry club is. I think you meant Fury Club. When you have triplets, that will be enough Fury. You will not be any extra clubs for Fury. We're going to have to cut that out. That intelligent option will increase survivability and success. And a happy triplets and marriage situation. No Fury or furry. No clubbing. Just stay home.
Did you bring protection?
I left it at home. It's just a little uncomfortable.
Sounds like you've never used JM4 Tactical before. Lined with leather for your pleasure. JM4 Tactical's magnetic holsters keep your piece securely in place without the need for a belt. So when you slide it in...
Feels like there's nothing there.
Click the link to get your hands on your own holster or go to jm4tactical.com.
Oh, I gotta get rid of that. Now, how do I get rid of that? I guess that's overlay in hide. Well, hello and welcome to John Crump Live. I'm not John Crump, and I am live though. So John is delayed, and our guest is delayed. So it's just me, and I was killing time by playing stuff. Let me bring up the comments here. And let's see. And if I hit the comments too many times, they go away. And that's what's the problem with working with a 10-year-old computer. So I'm just seeing C&T Designs with his comment about the Furry Club. Let's see. Chris Bullis in with the triplet. Kurt, the channel member. Let's see. Appalachian Gunrunner. How's it going, buddy? How's it going? A American, how's it going? And we got Coop and Kurt in here. Thanks. Richard Munder, all the way from England, 80XR920, who's like a member of like everybody in the Black Swan Media family's channel. Thank you. Let's see. And where it says John Crump, that was really me saying hello to people as John Crump. Joe Morgan, how's it going, sir? And let's see, let me click new comments here. One Car Fast, how's it going? And thank you for using my proper pronouns. So I don't know what the heck's going on here with Crumpy. Samuel, it's all good, all good. It's hot here in Florida. Typically, it is not 90 degrees, but it is. And it must be global warming. But since nobody's driving their cars, I don't know why the globe is warming. So yeah, that's what's going on. 2:36 p.m. It says it was 90 degrees here in beautiful Palm Beach. It says it's 89 right now. I've actually, because of the way where the thermostat is, I've actually turned the AC down. 28EDU, how's it going, man? All the commercials are for killing time because I am minus a guest and minus a host, which means I'm the guest host for right now. Chris Illog, how's it going, buddy? So, Chris, if you get to my house real soon, we can just do a show together because it's just the two of us. So, 93 in Oklahoma City. Oh. So, what I did not know, because I've always lived within 10 miles of the ocean, is that when you do that, when you're a shore dweller like myself, you're moderated by the ocean. So you never have the temperature go too high, too low, too fast. But in the middle of the country, Midwest region, you get big temperature swings. So you're gonna have like a 40, 50 degree temperature swing in one day, between morning and evening. So just something that I only learned 15 years ago. So gosh, YouTube is so restrictive. I always want to pick up something nearby and show you, but YouTube would take the stream down if I did. And let's see. We've got somebody in the wings here. Let's see who it is.
Hello.
How's it going? You don't look like Katherine.
No, I'm her husband. She is having some type of family emergency right at the moment.
Gotcha.
She's on the phone. She does plan on coming back soon. So.
Okay.
But she gave me the authorization to come on and talk about her case. If there's any information on that you'd like to know, or if that's
sure,
what,
why don't you
talk about?
Yeah, introduce yourself and just tell us what's going on. The broad sweeps of it.
Well, in simplest terms, Allegan County, Michigan, has removed First Amendment rights based on a township resolution.
Wow.
That's the honest truth. That's the easiest way to put it. You no longer have the right to petition your government on public property. I don't know where else you would do that in Allegan Township or Allegan County. And the prosecutor is also preventing that, and the sheriff's department. None of them are dismissing this case, and the judge is not dismissing this case. This has been going on since Election Day 2020.
Okay, so there's a little more to the story that I don't think that people know. And I don't want to get anybody in trouble. So what you can talk about without jeopardizing your case, what is the case? What occurred?
So, my wife authored a Michigan Constitution amendment, an amendment to the Michigan Constitution. She it has to get almost 500,000 signatures to get it onto the ballot, which would have been, I think this year would have been, if we got the signatures, it would have been on the ballot this election year.
Okay.
So we were trying to get signatures for this amendment. And on election day, we had some volunteers that set up a little booth at a polling place. And I think everybody knows that the rule at a polling place is you have to be beyond 100 feet to do any campaigning, which is legal to do. People just generally don't do that because it's kind of a gray
I know
area.
different states, they seem to have different rules. Like New York, where I voted in New York, was the high school and basically on the property, not at all. Like,
Right.
And they were even picky, like if you had a sign on your car. They didn't go to bumper stickers, but
and T-shirts. But
okay.
I think that's been overruled. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I think I read something not too long ago.
And in Florida here, I've seen it like the 100-foot rule, like you're talking about.
Yes. So these volunteers were over 200 feet away, and they weren't even in the parking lot. They were in the grass beyond the parking lot. They had a little booth with a couple of signs, just letting people know that they're there to collect signatures for this petition to get the amendment on the ballot. So the township clerk came out and asked them to leave, and our volunteers know what their rights are. My wife put together, I think, a 2 or 3 page document with all the laws and constitutional rights about this very thing, about petitioning on public property and on election day. So we were completely in the right to be there. The clerk didn't know any of these rules, obviously, asked them to leave, and called the sheriff's department. Sheriff's department came out and asked them to leave as well. The volunteers called Katherine because she's an attorney and
officer of the court.
Yeah, and because she wrote the amendment, they called her and said that the sheriff's deputies are asking them to leave. And my wife tried to talk to this deputy on the phone. There was so the communication wasn't that great. So he agreed that it'd be okay for her to go down there and they would talk about it. And so she did that. And after about 30 minutes of trying to get these deputies, by this time there's 3 deputies there now, trying to get them to talk about the laws involved and why we have a right to be there, they told her to turn around and basically wrestled her into handcuffs and dragged her to the back of their cop car and shoved her in from one side. On the other side, they had another deputy that pulled her in from the other side. So I don't really know what her body position is, trying to get into the car. I think she was somehow on her back, being dragged with handcuffs on. And she ended up with all kinds of bruises, and she was bleeding. And and the whole time, our daughter was in the back of our car, looking out the front windshield, seeing everything. She was 6 years old at the time, and she saw the whole thing. She saw them put handcuffs on her and drag her away, and there was nobody in there with my daughter. And I can't imagine what she went through seeing that happen. So we've been fighting this in court. You know, we our first move on this was to get the judge to dismiss this case because it's ridiculous, and that was denied. And we've had several motion hearings, and basically we've been trying to get to the trial, and the trial has been postponed, I think, 8 times now. And
so it's the prosecution is postponing the trial?
The judge, I think.
Okay.
And so the next trial date is in July. And at this point, we don't have any reason to believe they're not going to move it out again. They've done it so many times now. But that's what we're expecting now is July. And
so let me roll back a little bit. The amendment that she authored, what was the amendment?
Well, it did several things, and it was all based on COVID and what the Michigan governor did.
Okay.
In Michigan, and shutting schools down, just shutting everything down, keeping people locked up in their homes. You can't even go buy some basic things at a store, that kind of stuff. And the governor had no right to do any of that stuff constitutionally. Now there was
if you had a boat, you could go out on your boat, right?
Well, it was it was going into spring, so most people's boats were still.
I'm making a joke because Whitmer's
they were not in the water. So I mean, this was, that started at the middle of March, I think. So yeah, not in Michigan, no boats yet. So I don't remember where I was going with that, but
so I was asking what the amendment was about, and you said it was related to COVID and the shutdowns.
It was ways to remove power from the governor that she wasn't constitutionally given.
Right. Yeah, nobody was given any of these powers, whether it was Palm Beach County, whether it was Michigan State's governor, or it's pretty amazing. I think the way it was sold to us as 2 weeks to flatten the curve, everybody's on board with that. If we can help out, 2 weeks, stay home. All right, I will. But they asked for an inch and took a mile. And this is one of the things that really pissed me off, is that Home Depot, Walmart, all of these big stores that have lots of attorneys, they were open, but mom and pop, whether it's a hobby shop or whatever it may be, they were closed.
Right.
And I'm like, so you're telling me mom and pop is evil, but Walmart is okay as long as they count how many people go in the store?
Well, even worse than that, abortion clinics were open, but pregnancy resource centers were closed.
And I think they showed their hand as to what was going on. Now, can I ask, your wife was arrested for?
The charge was trespassing.
Okay.
And the deputy had a hard time even coming up with that at first. He was trying to find some certain law about on election day. And it was a funny story. My wife was sitting in the back of the cop car, and she was telling him, I think this is the law. And she would say the number. This is the one you're looking for. And he was like, but I'm looking for something else, something more specific. And so he would radio in and try to figure out what it was. And in the end, he just wrote for trespassing. And as my wife has explained many, many times, trespassing is not a thing on property generally open to the public. You cannot be charged with trespassing on property that's generally open to the public. And it doesn't have to be public property. It could be private property too, like a store is generally open.
Right. And wow. So it sounds to me like the issue is they realize they're screwed and they don't want to go to court because they're going to be in one metric boatload of trouble.
Yeah, that's about all we can figure is the reason they keep pushing this out. Trying to see if we make a mistake by somehow not showing up or I really don't know. But
because we've seen that, and I've talked. I haven't actually talked to your wife. I've talked to a member of her staff about the case, and what we've seen. So a company that produces, and of course we're more firearm oriented, but of course we're civil rights oriented, and what we've seen is the ATF has gone to a company, said, here's a cease and desist letter. And then they go to a court to get a temporary restraining order. And 2 days before they go to court, the ATF says, we rescind the order. And then in court, it's like, how do you get a TRO on an order that was rescinded? It's all sorts of BS gaming.
It is all gaming, yeah.
And when the House is changing the rules of the game and you're the player, that's a big screwing. That's really. So now you said the county repealed the First Amendment. Did they do something, or are you just talking about this arrest?
I'm just saying that we were there petitioning our government, and all of Allegan County officials are saying that we cannot do that.
Wow. So
when it comes to the local township, when it comes to the prosecutor's office, the sheriff's department, and the judges, they are all denying that right by letting this case just keep going and going and going. There should not be a case. This should have been dismissed a long time ago. If the prosecutor or the sheriff or the judges were doing their job, this case would have been thrown out a long time ago.
Oh, heck yeah. Oh, it just seems to me that these politicians enjoy the luxury of do what I say, I'll call the sheriff, and then the sheriff finds a reason to do what the politician wants.
Yeah.
Which is just crazy in my mind. I hate to claim and admit my naivete that I had always thought, until recent years, and I'm not a spring chicken, I had always thought that the cops enforced the law, not do what the politicians told them to do, which is just crazy to me.
Yeah, from what I'm seeing is a lot of them don't know what the laws are, and they take advice from a local prosecutor or someone higher up who's not really on the side of the people. From what I'm seeing, especially with this prosecutor's office, we've seen it in several other cases where they try prosecuting people for things they already know that they are innocent of, and they try to refuse to give proper evidence to the defense, and they continue to try to prosecute knowing that they're innocent.
And this is what a banana republic does. That's the thing that's terrifying.
This is I've been calling it judicial anarchy, and I don't think that's a new term, but that's exactly what it is. They don't care what's written in the law. They don't care what's written in the Constitution. They do what they want to do, just at a whim, to control their county.
So I got a question here. Was this on the west side of the state?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Just below Grand Rapids.
Okay. It's unbelievable to me that here and I guess we're all giving lip service. Again, I'm probably being very rhetorical, that everybody swears an oath to the Constitution to uphold the laws, and I don't.
It obviously means nothing to them, and they just say it without giving it any consideration.
Yes, and it seems to me that they work harder on exercising their authority as opposed to preserving the rights granted to us by the Constitution, or guaranteed to us. I shouldn't say granted. That's just crazy to me. And your wife's an attorney. Is she representing herself?
Yes. She has talked to several other attorneys, and we've had trouble getting. She's tried to have standby counsel so that she's not going into the courtroom alone. The first time that happened, the judge kicked the standby counsel out, so that the first time we went to the courthouse, I wasn't even allowed in the building, and It was only Katherine went in. It was I don't remember what the procedure was called, but it was just a simple thing. But it was only her and the prosecutor and the judge ever allowed in the courtroom. And actually, the second time was for I think a motion hearing, and that was the same.
So typically, there's an arraignment after an arrest. Say
that again.
Typically, there's an arraignment after an arrest.
Yeah, the arraignment. Yeah, that's the one. It was just the three, just my wife and the prosecutor and the judge. And the second one was, I think, a motion hearing, and she brought standby counsel, and the standby counsel was immediately kicked out of the courtroom. They broadcast it on YouTube, but it's immediately deleted afterwards. So there's no right for a citizen to watch these trials, which is that's the way it's supposed to be. If it's by YouTube, then you are required to pay to have an internet connection and a device. So that's not following the law either. People need to be able to go into these trials to just to observe.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the Constitution that way, but with
COVID sunlight
being done by Zoom, they think they can do that with all these cases now, even up to this day.
Right.
And our trial is scheduled to be in person. Everything else, motion hearings and settlement conferences and things like that, are all by Zoom. But the trial is scheduled to be in person. And the thing with a trial, it's a jury trial, and juries decide facts. And there's been no dispute of any facts in this case. This is all legal, all law issues here. And I don't know what the jury is going to do in this case, since they can't decide legal issues. This is really up to a judge to decide if there was actually a law that was broken here, and there has not been. Right.
Now, are they disputing that it was within 100 feet, or
No. There's if you read their arguments, what they're talking about is trespassing of a vehicle.
Wow.
And
on public property during an election.
Vehicles don't trespass. There's parking violations. We weren't given a parking citation, which would be illegal to do as well. They're basing this all off of a township resolution that says that during election day, that you can only be there for township business. You can only be on the property for township business on election day. Well, a First Amendment activity is township business, especially petitioning your government. That's township business.
Right.
So that's why we were there. That's why our volunteers were there. That's why my wife was there. Well, my wife went there as an attorney. So imagine some big shot attorney shows up to talk to police in front of their client, and then the police arrest the attorney. That's basically what happened here. So
gotcha.
She wasn't dressed like an attorney. Maybe if she was wearing a suit and just like she was going into a courtroom, maybe they would have treated her differently. But she wasn't expecting to have to go represent some people.
For sure. Yeah.
But that doesn't matter.
Wow.
She was still arrested, acting as an attorney for these volunteers. So
was anybody else arrested?
No, it was just her. Now they were threatening to arrest. After they arrested her, they were threatening to arrest everyone else if they didn't leave.
It's like leave or we'll arrest you.
Yeah.
And they've demonstrated they will, and they roughed her up pretty good. So I'm assuming people left.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know if you've seen the video, but there's the second part of the video where we're at a different location. We're just maybe a mile down the road at that point, and we met up there to talk about it and tried to basically she was trying to talk about it in real time as it had just occurred, so that it keeps a record of what happened. So.
Wow.
Are you ready to go on? Yeah. Well, here she is, Katherine.
Okay. Hey, Katherine, how you doing?
Good. I'm so sorry to keep you waiting. Of course.
That's okay. Life happens. John's not here either, so I'm running the show solo.
Okay.
So he's like, I'll be there. And I'm like, all right. So, Katherine, they're not disputing you were within 100 feet or not 100 feet. They're just saying, what is the charge against you?
The original charge was trespassing.
Okay.
Because they said that it's publicly owned, publicly accessible property. They said that the township clerk was the owner and that it was private property. And
wow.
She didn't want me there, then I had to go. And it's stupid because I was there as an attorney for the people who were originally being harassed. So I was there in a professional capacity, and the deputy knew that. And he's like, okay, I'll be here. We'll talk about the law when you get here. And then didn't talk to me about the law at all. So
wow. And we got John. Are you guys conspiring and coming at the same time?
It's there's been a lot going on. Steve Dettelbach looks like he will be voted on Monday, and Collins and Portman have crossed the party line over to the Democrats. So it looks like he has the votes to be confirmed.
Oh, okay. Wow. So we get a good gun hater running the ATF.
Basically, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this has all been breaking. So sorry about that. How are you doing, Catherine?
I'm doing okay. I myself had some things come up last second, of course, for me, about a half an hour before 5 o'clock, and one of my kids had an emergency, so I just got done dealing with that now. So,
you're smiling. I hope everything's good.
I always try to smile, but if anybody wants to throw some prayers my way or my son's way, he's 18 years old, and he's my son. So. Okay. And he's 18. Did I say that? That's kind of a given that there's going to be some stuff going on, right? So
yeah, mine's about to turn 9, and my other one is 5. So I have some time. Thank God.
We do have one of those. Our youngest is 8.5, I guess. But we have 3 that are adults, and obviously it's because my husband's old, not me. But yeah.
My mom used to say, I hope you have kids just like you. And I would think, one, you have no idea the stuff I've done. Still more. And luckily, my mom's, I don't want to say curse, but my mom did not get her wishes. My daughter's great. So...
I was perfect, so it's just too bad that all 4 kids couldn't be just like me. But
perfect. What kind of example are you setting? You're getting arrested.
That is exactly the example I needed to set for the 6-year-old who was in the car watching it all go down. That you stand for what's right. You go and defend people who are being oppressed or being wronged in some way, that you do what you can with what you have. And if what you have is knowledge of the law, and, you're armed with a law degree and, the ability to drive down and go help somebody, you do that. And if somebody's saying, well, I'm going to arrest you then instead, you still hold your ground and you calmly try to talk it through and do what you can, because you can't abandon people who need you. So my daughter was traumatized that day. I was traumatized that day by the physical violence that I had to suffer at the hands of 3 grown men that should know better. But she saw mom standing for the Constitution. She saw mom standing for freedom and for defending others who weren't able to be in that best position to know how to defend themselves. And if nothing else, then at least I was able to teach my daughter that in that moment.
Amen. Right on.
Yeah,
so when did this happen?
Important.
Election day 2020.
Wow.
Yep. So we are 19 and a half months in to this case. And I was answering you what the charges were. So trespassing, criminal trespassing, which, by the way, the U.S. Constitution doesn't really allow crap like that. In fact, our U.S. Supreme Court, who often gets things wrong, but the U.S. Supreme Court has not gotten this issue wrong. In fact, they have been consistently telling us that when you have property that's open to the general public, even if it's privately owned, but it's open to the general public, you can't just use trespass laws to say, oh, you're trespassing, you have to go. Well, there's this whole like equal protection of the law that's guaranteed to each of us. So whether you're in a store like, like a Walmart or a Target, and you don't or can't wear a mask, and they try to arrest you for criminal trespass because, you're just trying to buy your items and go about your day. Or, you try to go and get medical services, and your dentist or doctor's office is now, the vaccine or mask Gestapo, or, anything like that. You cannot be arrested and found guilty of criminal trespass for
a friend of mine was for a mask in Palm Beach.
Yeah. It's not, the Supreme Court has said that for decades. So the funny thing is, in my legal arguments, I've actually tried doing interlocutory appeals. I did that last year, and I made it up 2 levels.
You want to tell people what that is?
Yeah, where you don't wait till the trial happens. You file an appeal before the trial because something is so screwed up that the appellate court needs to jump in and do something right away. So, for example, if the court doesn't have jurisdiction over the case, it doesn't matter what the charges are. If there's no jurisdiction there, you shouldn't have to stand trial and go through all the expense and the time and suffering and negative publicity and everything. Well, that's what's happening in my case. There's no subject matter jurisdiction because criminal trespass on property open to the general public is just not a thing. It doesn't exist. But the Court of Appeals and the Circuit Court that I appealed to both of those last year, they basically gave 1-sentence denials and said, it's not, you haven't convinced us it's super important enough that we got to take this on right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So basically they can rule against you by just saying, hey, we don't want to deal with it right now. They don't have to rule on the facts in the case. They can just say, we just don't want to deal with it, and brush you aside.
In fact, when I tried initially in February, I tried it when it was first filed to file a motion to dismiss. They stopped me from even having a hearing on it until 3 months into the case. So February 4th, 2021. And the judge ended up ruling that day that didn't matter all the arguments that I had, that as a misdemeanor defendant, I was not even allowed to raise any legal or constitutional challenges in this case, that I was guaranteed a right to a jury trial, and that was it. And I was like, what? Huh?
Who made that roll up? That's a new one.
So it's been an uphill battle. I've been denied all kinds of rights in the whole process. But in the appeals that I was doing, I kept demonstrating, talking about what the courts have said. And sure, you have the right to, the government has some rights. They don't have rights, but they have some authority to make regulation about election day or things like that. But, to make sure other people's rights are not infringed upon when you're, petitioning. That's why they have that 100-foot rule from the polls and that kind of thing. Wow, apparently I started reading somebody's comment that was on the screen.
Oh, sorry.
Derailed. Anyway, that's where I was pointing out that, the court doesn't allow you to have trespassing on property open to the general public, but you can have, trespassing in certain circumstances, like if it's...
we blew you up.
Okay. I'm like, wait a minute, everybody's gone. If you, are interrupting a church service or something like that, there's special laws in Michigan that make that a different kind of trespassing. Or I kept hammering on these other options, like you could be disturbing the peace. If you're stopping people from if I had been getting in the way of voters who were trying to vote, or I'm trying to be all in their face about my petition, that would be something that, could be a disturbing the peace charge. And so I was trying to contrast and show them what the differences are and how some behaviors you can regulate like that and some you just can't. Well, eventually, It was the night before my jury trial that was scheduled that time, the second date. So it was July 21st, 2021. The night before that jury trial, we're prepping for trial, and I get this email that there's an arraignment tomorrow morning because they've now added a second charge. All those months later, disturbing the peace. They finally were like, okay, I guess we finally read her briefs. Yeah, let's go ahead and add another charge. So,
wow. So
Do you
don't
think that
give them
was a
ammunition.
direct? Do you think that was a direct, like response to your brief?
I do. It came months after. That came 2.5 months after I had last filed a brief in the Court of Appeals arguing those issues. But I think, that prosecutor's office, among other things, they're lazy. They don't know how to write a brief. They don't know how to write a motion. They don't know the court rules if they smacked them upside the head. So I think that, and mind you, I know of at least 5 attorneys that have touched my file, either because they've signed on to, pleadings in my case, or they've shown up in a hearing, at least 5, and they can't figure out how to follow the court rules to save their lives. So it may be that they didn't even read my briefs until, fully until right before trial. And they're like, hey, that's a good idea. Yeah, let's get her for that. Now, mind you, this amended complaint doesn't allege any of the facts that would be sufficient to show that it's disturbing the peace. Like, they don't allege that I stopped somebody from doing, from voting. They don't allege that I got in the way of the, township people from, running the election, or I don't even know what they're trying to claim. Of course, they provided zero discovery on that, despite my requests and a court order and 2 hearings on discovery and all that other fun stuff.
Yeah, describe what discovery is. Just pretend I do a lot of reporting on legal issues. So when you throw away when you not throw away, but you throw around like legal terms, to me, I'm like, okay, I know what that is. But like I tell Rich all the time, you have to go, I have to put myself in the shoes of the people out there that don't read this stuff religiously.
Right.
If you saw my cousin Vinny, you know what discovery is.
Well, I was just thinking Law and Order, but no, that's fine. So discovery
Never actually
is...
seen a show of Law and Order. Never seen a single episode of it.
What? You've never seen? It's like year 22 or something like that. Oh
I
my
know.
God. But discovery is just getting the other side's evidence. So in most cases, I mean, think about it, whether it's a civil case, criminal case, whatever, it's part of due process. It's just inherent that, if somebody is going to bring a case against you, that you have a right to discuss, what the evidence is and figure out how to present. So what witnesses, if there's going to be a parade of witnesses coming in trial against you, you have the right to know who those witnesses are, so you can have rebuttal witnesses there. It's that kind of thing. So, I've asked for them to give me every piece of evidence essentially that they have against me, and I've received a whole lot of nothing.
But so this sounds like the DA's office's first year admins. It doesn't even sound like they're law students.
It's all I know is the prosecutor herself supposedly gave the deputies permission that day to arrest me. They had already known who I was. I don't know if my husband told you, but I wrote that petition. So we had thousands of people all over the state that were circulating the petition because our goal was to get 500,000 signatures to get it on the ballot. And we had, I was the only attorney that was stepping out and being public about, the governor says, you have to do XYZ in this executive order. No, you don't. That's not what the law says. Or, once her orders stepped beyond, April 30th, and I'm telling people, you don't have to listen to a single order, and they weren't constitutional to begin with, but now they clearly violate state law. So for those of you who don't, you're afraid of the word constitution, you can at least understand the state law. So I was, I had, Wood TV8 and Fox News and all these channels, interviewing me on a regular basis about these things. I publicly challenged the governor and the attorney general, because they're both attorneys, to a debate on the steps of the Capitol on any of those issues about their, mandates or the executive orders. Of course, they never did that, but they knew who I was.
Yeah. Well, they can't do it if they don't have an argument that's better or one that's constitutional. Because all you have to need to say is, "Oh, that's not constitutional."
I guess you could get to the, and this is the part I don't know if my husband mentioned either, is so when all this started happening, and there were different lawsuits being filed against the governor in court, and they're making their way, to the Court of Appeals and the Michigan Supreme Court, I decided that, I had thousands, tens of thousands of people reaching out to me on a regular basis, asking me questions, asking me for help, telling me their stories about the way that their rights were all being impacted. And, I'm one person. I don't have paid staff. I work from home. So, I was doing my best, but I figured the best thing I can do is bring these concerns to the court, and whether it's the Court of Appeals or Supreme Court, and write an amicus brief. And, the petition is the Restore Freedom Initiative. Well, I wrote a petition on behalf of Restore Freedom, unofficially on behalf of the people of the state of Michigan. And so I presented those kinds of constitutional arguments in front of the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court kicked it back down to the Court of Appeal. It was awful. Eventually, there was a federal court case that brought the topic of whether the governor can issue these executive orders. It pushed it from federal court over to the Michigan Supreme Court. And so, of course, I participated as an amicus, as a outside person who has something different to offer, and filed my briefs, and it was moving pretty fast. I asked for oral argument time, which is kind of unheard of, and the court actually granted me oral argument time.
Oh, wow.
The first amicus, I got granted oral argument time before the legislature even decided to join in the case and ask for that.
That's very, very rare. I just want people to know how rare that is. Usually when you submit an amicus brief, you don't get that at all.
It basically gets filed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They're supposed to look at it, but if they actually do or not,
Now, granted, I only got 5 minutes, and I was the only one in my briefs. I was the only person. So there was the original plaintiff, there was me, and there was the legislature of Michigan that were against the governor's orders. Then there were, 3 main briefs that were on the, for the governor's orders, basically. And then I think there were some other different kinds of amicus briefs that were filed. But anyway, so there were 6 of us that argued that day. And so of the 3 of us who were arguing against the orders, I was the only one arguing that these orders were unconstitutional from day one. The plaintiff, and which were some doctors and a patient that had been impacted by all these orders, the plaintiff's attorney and the legislature's attorney were arguing basically it was a separation of powers issue, and it's the legislature that gets to control our every move and stop us from going to church or going to, medical events or sporting events or things like that.
Which is scary.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. It's like,
Very
oh, no,
scary.
she doesn't get the power. We get the power.
Exactly.
Wow.
And it's one thing to have the legislature argue that, which is disgusting anyway, but
Yes.
the plaintiffs were basically agreeing with that, and they said it was legal and it was fine from day one. They said they both agreed that it wasn't a problem until May 1st, because the legislature's permission to continue those executive orders had run out. So in my little 5 minutes that I got as amicus, I had to jam pack in there how, it was unconstitutional from day one.
Right.
And
right.
I also, so then the governor, lost. And over that weekend, October 2nd was when the court came out and said, it was unconstitutional. And at least under this one law is unconstitutional. The other one, she violated it, so we don't even have to talk about whether that law is unconstitutional. Total garbage. Meanwhile, the governor was telling everybody in Michigan, oh, you still have to follow my orders. And then she quietly went to court the following Monday and said, hey, can you guys just give me another month with these orders, just because I need it? She knew she didn't have the authority. Well, I knew that I had to file a response right away. Again, the plaintiff and the legislature, they filed responses before I did on that one. And they actually were good responses, but they still were missing something. And I put in there, hey guys, court, listen, not only can you not give her the extra time, but you need to do something to address the fact that they are now going to go use other statutes like the public health code. They're going to keep issuing these orders under a different law because we have other really crappy laws out there, and it's just as unconstitutional to use those as it is to use these. So you just need to make that perfectly clear. They've already said it. I put quote after quote after quote of the governor saying, yep, I'm going to go and use the director of Health and Human Services. I'm going to use his powers now and issued my orders there. Of course, they did no such thing. They totally ignored that. And lo and behold, the governor immediately went and started bolstering all of her, stuff through the other law in the public health code. So the public health code has now made it into some litigation. And I'll be joining back in on that hopefully soon. But this Allegan case is keeping me busy. My point being, by the time Election Day 2020 happened, the governor, the AG herself, the Secretary of State, they all knew me by name. So
you were on the radar.
Yeah. So the fact that this prosecutor, she knew who I was, the sheriff knew who I was in the moment. Let me put it this way. How many times do you have a defendant in handcuffs where they're still going to charge that person? And I'm in the back of the deputy's SUV. And he's writing me he's deciding he's going to actually let me go instead of bringing me to the jail, because they were going to take my daughter, give her over to CPS, confiscate my vehicle, not let me call my husband to get her, not let any of the responsible adults that I trusted that were now at the scene to take my daughter. Nope. So they went all from one end of the spectrum over to, okay, well, we'll let you go. And then you have to handle these charges, in court. So at least that was I had some hope that somebody else would follow the laws and the Constitution. I mean, clearly they have not, but so we're in that moment and he's writing me the ticket and he says, well, yeah, the sheriff, he said, if you'd like to talk to him and ask him any questions or whatever, you could do that. And I said, sure. Okay. Well, then the deputy got all ticked off. Like, I was causing problems, but I was like, yeah, I'll do that. So he angrily called him, and there I am talking on the deputy's cell phone, and while I'm in handcuffs, though, to the sheriff while I'm locked up in the back of the deputy's SUV. How many people can say that they've had that opportunity? I didn't ask to talk to the sheriff.
Right.
So they knew who I was going into this situation and decided they, I guess, wanted to make an example out of me. By the way, the sheriff, the judge who's been handling this case, and the prosecutor are all supposedly Republicans.
It doesn't mean anything anymore. Maybe, I don't even know if it ever meant anything, but it's
right.
You want to know the irony? So as this case is going on, I'm the first one, I think, in U.S. history to be arrested and then elected on the same day. So I had already
congratulations on that.
Right. So I'd already
That's
been elected
challenge.
as a Republican precinct delegate, but on election day I was officially elected. I'd made it through the primary, but on that day I was officially elected as Georgetown Township trustee. It's the 7th largest township in the state of Michigan. So I was, on their board. So I got elected to that day. And then shortly thereafter, I was elected to the 2nd congressional district for the MIGOP, the Michigan Republican Party. And I was also elected as the state committee woman for the 2nd congressional district for the Michigan Republican Party. So they were then pursuing these charges against me as a sitting am I a GOP state committee woman? And I'm like, wow. And you guys don't see the problem with this. So their next election is going to be fun.
Wow. So they detained you in the back of the SUV, the sheriff's SUV, and then released you?
After they beat the crap out of me. I don't know if my husband got to that part.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't want to ask questions that aren't going to be good for your case. You're a lawyer. You know how to communicate. Were you resisting? What happened?
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, okay. You undoubtedly have every right to resist an unlawful arrest, especially what you can hear. I don't know if Lori has posted the video, but on the front page of my website, restorefreedomkh.com, you can see the video, and it's not just my live stream video. It starts with that, but then there are other people that ended up live streaming it. While I'm in the car, there's not a ton that was live streamed, some, but you can hear me. You can see when I'm trying to talk to them, and I never actually did refuse to leave. I said, I said, I just want to talk to you about the law. And the last time they asked me, will you leave? I said, just give me 5 minutes to talk to you about the law, and then I'll leave. The one whispered to the other, like, I was talking to one of them, and then two of them whispered to each other, because of course I was so big, bad, and scary that they had to have 3 grown men handle this situation. And
hey man, you never know. I'm just joking.
And
I saw the swimmer recently. That I'm not going to go into. The swimmer, the male that turned to female. That
yes,
identified.
Yes,
so you never know.
I would like to think that I'm obviously naturally a woman, but
yeah, you look naturally a woman.
So I mean, I've given birth to children. And,
all right. Well,
and one of them that was there that day. So, but it was ridiculous how they then decided that they would just immediately have their hands on me, and they're literally dragging me. I mean, they were aggressive about it, as though I had done something violent and heinous, and they're dragging me literally across the parking lot. And I'm saying, my daughter's in the car, and they didn't care. I guess they didn't believe me. And I'm like, my key is in the pocket. Just let me give my key to Doreen. She was the original circulator there that I was there to help. I said, just let me give my key to Doreen. Just let me. And she's screaming, give me your key. And I'm like, they won't let me. And I'm just yelling, help. And I'm just screaming in the parking lot for anybody to help me, because there's no law that allows that kind of craziness. There's no part of the Constitution that says that even if I had committed a crime, even if it was criminal trespassing, which it's not, they can't do that kind of thing to people, doing it that way. And so then they get to the point where there's 2 of them shoving me in. They wouldn't put their hand over my head. They're literally trying to shove me in, and I was afraid I was going to smash my head on the car. And I'm like, let me sit down. Just let me sit in the car. And they didn't care. So the third one walks around so he could drag me and pull me through the vehicle, while the other 2 are shoving me in. And I ended up bleeding and bruised. I had contusions that lasted over a year.
Oh, jeez.
I had, I had cuts everywhere. I was beat up. I had bruises all over my legs and my arms. There's no reason that should ever happen to anybody. And if they're willing to do it to somebody they know is a constitutional attorney willing to take on the governor and the AG, you better damn well believe they're going to do it to any other person they feel like it.
Right.
How can people help you out or follow you? We're kind of running a little bit late on time, so we only got a few minutes left.
Sorry, man. You get me going asking me about questions on this.
No. This is perfect. I think we need to do like a 4-hour live stream with you, because sure. All Rich has to do is ask you a question and he'll just let you go for like 4 hours, and it'll be YouTube gold.
I do have a YouTube page. They shadow ban me, so it doesn't get much
we can push it out. I have another channel that's a little bit, it's kind of close to the 280 EDU size. I will push it out over there too.
Oh, awesome. Our website is restorefreedomkh.com. It's not the best right now because WordPress has been playing some tricks on me, but and our tech team is off doing other freedom fighting projects. So I'm literally, while doing all the legal work and trying to do a whole nother interlocutory appeal, which I have filed, and preparing for the trial, I'm also trying to redesign my whole website. So bear with me. We have a Constitution app too, and I'm rebuilding a whole new Constitution app to make things more accessible to people. I want to put the law and the Constitution in the hands of everyone.
Well,
but
my app that I have, I'm adding that feature.
Awesome.
So that's cool. So you can like just bring up the Constitution, and you can type in like keywords, and it's going to be able to search the Constitution, or also it's going to be doing it. It's going to go into depth. I'm still redesigning it, and that's a little bit a sneak peek on my app. But I'm doing it all by myself, so it takes a little while.
Yeah, and my goal is to have all 50 states on there, but I'm going to start off with 2, Michigan and Florida, to have state constitutions. Of course, the Declaration of Independence will be on there. It's going to be great. But for people to reach me anyway, going to my website has the links to all of that stuff and more. Lots of legal resources, examples of briefs, so people can pluck arguments out of there and use them in their own cases, whether they're attorneys or not. And if people want to help, the biggest thing is donating, because the cost of these appeals alone, keep in mind, I'm an attorney. I'm not paying myself. This is just out of pockets. It's just getting the transcripts and paying the filing fees and everything. It's well over $3,500. And
Wow.
all the work I do is volunteer. All the legal work, the fighting in the Supreme Court, the writing the constitutional amendments. I was there helping Ryan, my friend Ryan Kelly, the Michigan GOP front runner for governor, the day he got swooped up by the FBI. All the stuff I do is for free. So can you imagine me trying to scrape up $3,500 from the couch cushions?
Yeah, we have a little experience with legal funds and legal fees and stuff like that. Rich and I do. For what is it? Matt, there's 2A EDU out there. Matt, CRS Firearms. I think we raised over $150,000 for him.
Yep.
And for JFD, we raised a little bit over 10. So we're pretty good at that legal. We've done legal funding.
I definitely need help, because I can tell you the circuit court that it's currently with now, they're going to deny it. They did last time, and she's evil. And Court of Appeals might do the same thing again to me. This time I have the emotional fortitude to keep going and go right on to the Michigan Supreme Court. And if they screw it up, then I will be going to the U.S. Supreme Court. I'm actually admitted to practice law there.
Excellent.
Yeah. I'm going to take this, because it's not me. I mean, it is me, but they can't play these games with people. You should see the amount of things that I've had to appeal and work on these issues. No one should have to stand trial 20 months after the incident because the court just decides to keep issuing 8 trial dates.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We have a few friends that practice in front of the Supreme Court.
Do you have a GoFundMe or Give, Send, Go?
I don't have either one of those. I use Square and
Okay.
I have a bunch of other.
Talk to me. We'll get you set up with Give, Send, Go. Basically, I know people are going to be like they're anti-2A, but they still work with Give, Send, Go, and
Square
Stripe.
Is anti-2A.
But Stripe and Give, Send, Go, they pay. It's Stripe and Give, Send, Go, and they pay out nightly. So, and it's just like the Stripe fee, which I think might be a little bit cheaper than Square.
I think it's like 3%, but
it's 2.5, I believe.
Oh,
yeah, that's what I pay with Square. But I've just had Square since before I met my husband. So.
But the good thing about Give, Send, Go is people that have no idea who you are run across your case, and then they read about it, and then they donate. It's kind of like a GoFundMe, but less communist. Yeah, get
So
with me. I'll help you out. I'll help you set everything up and everything. Remember when GoFundMe knocked all the truckers offline up in Canada?
exactly.
Gifts and Go is the one that stepped in and helped them.
Awesome. Okay.
So, yeah. And if someone wants to donate right now, they can just go to your website, restorefreedomkh.com.
Yeah, there's several options on there. I have people that are old school, don't like to do anything electronic, so they send a check or something like that. I have people that only have, a few dollars literally to send, and so they'll just mail the cash. I mean, all that information is right on there. There's a shop donate tab. And any of the items, I just have like 4 or 5 items available to purchase. It's just at my cost, just to try to help get the word out there about what we do.
All right, talk to me afterwards. I have a few ideas that I think I can help you out with.
Sounds good.
I'm pretty damn good at this. Rich is pretty damn good at it too. We've had plenty of practice. Unfortunately.
Well, I'm only in my 30s, so I got another 30 years or so at least to fight for freedom. And my goal is to get these few cases handled so that I can move on to bigger and better things and stop all this craziness.
All right, that works for me. You can follow me at johncrump.locals.com, also at John Crump News, which I have a video that's premiering any second now. All you guys in the audience are going to be pushed over there through the redirect. You can find Rich at Flying Rich on all social medias besides Instagram, where it's FlyingRich_official, and he even has a MySpace, which is freaking crazy.
MySpace is a thing?
You could be my second friend.
Yeah, he's trying to get someone to be his friend, and no one else will join MySpace with him. And you can follow Katherine at restorefreedomkh.com. Is your YouTube channel linked up there or no?
Yeah, you can find my YouTube, our Facebook, our Twitter, all that stuff. I don't think I have our locals on there yet, or our Truth Social. That might not be on there yet.
All right. $5 from 2A Thank you so much, buddy. We are getting out of here. Katherine, give us the final words of wisdom.
A good friend of mine who's a truck driver, but he's been fighting hard in Michigan. He reminded me when he had me come and speak at an event. He said, "You don't have rights if you don't know you have them. So know your rights. That's the only way that you can exercise them."